I'm a certified professional dog trainer in Utah, and I'm excited to be here. If this is your first time joining us, please, when you first get on, give me your first and last name and either a state or country, so I can enter you in for the drawing for the free bag of pup for training treats. Um, I'm happy to answer any of your training and behavior questions that you might have with your dog. Um, and if I refer to handouts, I'll usually give you my email and you can email me and ask for handouts. I'm happy to send them to you. What else? Can't think of anything. So hopefully, hi Anita. Anita, I already know where you're from. Okay, so let me start writing down names. What is today? Is today the 26th? I've been off a day all week. Anita Solomon. Look at that. I even remember your last name. Oh, it says it right there. I didn't read that. I just saw Anita, Florida. So I just had a client call me. They've been in Florida for several months, and they're not coming back till the end of June. But they were, hi, Marion. Um, Marion, I think you have one. I usually announce it um, at the end. So do you stay for the whole thing? Because I'm pretty sure that you have one at least once. I can go back through the emails if you want, because they have a list of the winners. So if you email at pupper.com, I just put it in the chat. Ask them, just say, I think I won like a month or two ago and forgot to email in, and see if they have you on the list, because I do believe you have won before. I can go back through, well, I usually throw them away because I write them down and then get them all like in a bowl so that it's fair, and then I choose one. But I should start keeping a list as well of who wins. So I will do that. Hi, Julie. But yes, I do think you have won before. So you might want to just email hello@pupford.com um, and say that you think you won and forgot to write in, and they will have a list. They have all my emails. So at the end of every one of these, I send an email with the winner, and then you also email in and tell them what kind you want. So, okay, let me go back and so Anita, I had a client text me today that they're in Florida till the end of June, and it's I guess there's so many people that have been coming to Florida from like New York and stuff that I guess the traffic is crazy busy, and their puppy has like no fear of cars, and she keeps chewing through her harness and getting away, and is able to, like, they're worried about her running out in the road. So that reminded me of Florida. Okay, Marion. Yeah, Marion, I'm pretty sure you've won because I remember writing your name down, and that because I remember putting from Ogden, Utah. So yeah, I would just email and say, can I still get my free bag of treats? Because I won a while ago. Hi, Julie. Oh, so Julie, I was going to New York. I was going to explain. Oh, wait, I'm getting you mixed up with somebody else. I had posted something on Facebook about a wildlife sanctuary that I visited, and it wasn't you. I don't think. I think it was somebody else that was worried that I was hand feeding raccoons, but I don't think it was you. Um, anyway, because this is training related, hi Nicole. I I will kind of go into this. I was able to visit one of my friends works at a place called Wild Wonders, and it's a family owned. They have it in their backyard, but their backyard is huge. And they take in injured wildlife and rehab them. So they might be orphaned, raccoons, they have coyotes, foxes. So in Utah, I do not approve of this. I do not like this. So let me put that up front. But they have a bounty on coyotes. So people can shoot coyotes. It's very, the way, in my opinion, the way they do it is very inhumane. They lure them in and they get like $50 to $75 per coyote that they shoot. Um, and it's throwing off the ecosystem. It's doing all kinds of things. And so one of them that was shot, I actually attended a fundraiser for a group that is trying to bring more attention to this. And so I kind of knew about it. But one of the coyotes that was shot was pregnant and had pups, and all the pups died but one. So there was a singleton coyote, and so they gave it to this Wild Wonders, and they raised it from a pup. So those are the kind of animals that are there. They had a duck there with an injured foot that can't fly or swim or do anything. They have fox. They have an emu. They have skunks. They have reptiles, but all injured that could not survive on their own. So they take them in. They also do education on the animals and stuff like that. So I was not able to handle all of them. I was able to feed the emu, and they have one skunk that is very friendly that they take around to schools, and they do parties, like birthday parties or corporate parties. They also do tours and things like that. But I was able to pet the skunk, hand feed the raccoons, and so yes, in the wild, you don't want to hand feed raccoons because they can have rabies and they can bite. These guys are pretty tame. We fed them like through the fence, like I wasn't actually in there with them. But the thing that I wanted to see, being a trainer, is these guys have taught the animals to move to the side of the gate or up on a box. Um, oh, Limo Emu, that's funny. That's good. Um, I should have tried to get insurance though, because the day that I was visiting there, so don't let me get off track, but we went to Wild Wonders, and then I was on my way home, and I was going through an intersection, and a lady hit me. So luckily, she had insurance. She'll have to pay for my car, and she admitted fault. So hopefully they'll fix my car. So anyway, they teach these animals, like they'll say the animal's name and they'll say side. And so then the animal moves to the side so that you can get in to do their, like I wasn't allowed to go in, but the volunteer, that's my friend that volunteers there, she goes in to feed and water. Or they'll say, like with the raccoons, they'll say box, and then they'll get up on the box so that they can enter. Because sometimes there was a pig that as soon as you open the door, like he tried to escape. So they teach them side and they teach them things so that they can, go in and clean and do what they need to do. So it's really cool. The owner can handle every animal there except for one coyote that imprinted on her husband. And so he's the only one that can handle that one. But I saw her go in and she like got down on the ground and was like playing with the fox and rubbing it, and it was rolling over just like a dog. It was amazing. The other thing that's really interesting to me is coyotes give the same, because I was a stranger and I was new. There's one coyote that's really shy, and she kind of stayed back, but she would lip lick and yawn, which are calming signals in dogs. So it was interesting to see a coyote do the exact same thing that dogs do when they're trying to calm their environment. Um, so that was really cool. It's I wish it was closer, because if it was, I would go volunteer, but I it's like an hour and 15 minutes for me. I'll definitely go back and visit again, but it was like an amazing place. Um, the emo did have, what was his name? I'm trying to remember the emu's name. It wasn't Limu, but I can't remember. He had a big beak, and you'd hold like a grape in your hand, and she goes, "Now it seems like he's gonna bite, but he's not gonna bite." But he would take it out like pretty quick, but never bit. Most all of the animals would come right up to the door and seem like super friendly. You weren't allowed to like put your like. I really wanted to reach in and pet one because that's how friendly they seem, but they're still wild animals, so you can't. Other than the two raccoons that I fed, that was pretty amazing. Okay, Anita, let me make sure I have everybody's name down. Oh, I need to get Emily. Hi, Emily. Oh, Emily, I think I still owe you an answer. I think you messaged me, and I think the answer was that you didn't do it wrong or you didn't um, screw anything up. I think I just have not messaged you back yet, so I'm sorry. It's been crazy around here lately. Okay, Anita, my rescue wouldn't listen to me to get off the couch and had her bone, which she gives me to hold for her while she chews. Since she wouldn't get off the couch on command, I took her by the collar and went to pull her down, and she growled and showed teeth. Only once before, when we first got her resource guarding, when one of the grands left a box of cereal on the floor in clothes, and she was eating it when I tried to take it away. Um, she's over two and normally a low key sweetie. Um, I think that's pretty normal. Even if a dog um, will usually give you a bone when she's chewing it. If you're trying to like then take her like off the couch and away from that, um, remember that like showing teeth and a growl is just a warning, like they want you to back away or they don't like what you're doing. Um, so so yeah, putting her in her kennel for a few minutes was fine. Actually, what I would probably do is, instead of saying like off the couch, if she has a bone, teach her to trade the bone first. So we've talked about trades, like offer her something of equal or higher value and say drop it. And then once she drops the bone for the new treat, then you could even take the new treat and toss it on the floor and tell her off. And then she'll get off the couch for the new treat. And that way you're positively letting her trade something of equal or higher value for the bone and then toss it on the ground to get her off and teach it off. Um, some dogs, especially, well, I won't say especially rescues, but some are very head and neck sensitive. And so if you grab them, remember that then they kind of feel more restrained. Um, and some dogs can be more likely to growl or show teeth. What I'm seeing as good news is that she could have bitten you and didn't. So that's good. I think the fact that she lets you hold the bone when she chews is great, but then grabbing her collar and trying to take her off of the couch while she's eating something is probably added kind of stressor that got her. Um, and at 2 years old, that's when dogs are kind of going from teenage adolescent into their social maturity, depending on the breed and the size. But that's when we start to see behavior changes. That's when we start to see, there's a lot of things that go into effect, hormones, learning, like just several factors that can go into it. And so you may see a few more behaviors. So, like my dog Jade that you guys have all met, um, she is about 2.5, 3, probably 2.5. She's a rescue, so who knows? Um, she has only recently started resource guarding me from other dogs. Um, Not really dogs outside of the home, but Maddie, my dog, my 11-year-old. And when I had a board and train, the puppy was trying to come up, and Jade was kind of growled at the puppy. So it's so she's just kind of started that, and sometimes we'll just be like walking through the house, and Jade will randomly like snap at Maddie for, I don't know, being too close to me. Other than that, there wasn't really no trigger. There was no food involved or anything like that. Um, so yeah, there's something about that age that once they start to reach social maturity, you may see some more like seeing what they can get away with. Seeing some more maybe behavioral issues. Um, so yeah, putting her in a kennel is for a few minutes is totally fine. But I would think about, okay, if this happens again, what can I do instead? So instead of like, oh, another one you can do is hand targeting. So keep in mind though that she has a bone, so whatever you ask her to hand target for has to be better than the bone. But if she's been reinforced for hand targeting a lot, then she just may do a hand target, and that gets her off. That I use hand targeting to get dogs like off the couch. So they touch, then they get a reward. Um, you could even show her something of equal or higher value that you're going to trade if you say drop it, but show it to her and then say touch away from the couch, and then see if she will get off the couch to hand target for this item, and then you can take the bone and then get her off the couch. But yeah, it's kind of pretty normal for dogs that are kind of at that age. Okay, I'm trying to scroll up, Julie, because I can only see part of your. Whoops, I didn't want to do that. Okay, why will it not let me scroll? All right, I'm just going to type in my email so that I can make this go up. Okay. Ellie is getting spayed on Friday. Is there a better way to keep them from not playing roughly? You could keep them separated because, yeah, she is going to have to stay low key for a while, and she's going to have stitches. And so I think they usually say 10 to 14 days. So leash walks, so just taking her out on leash. And then I wouldn't let the two dogs outside to play anyway, just because there's too much of a chance that they're going to be running and playing. And then in the house, if they start playing too rough, then I would just interrupt. And then maybe give Ellie something to do in a crate. Like, so it can't be a punishment, but it's like, here, you get a bully stick or a turbo tendon in your crate. So you get something to do while Dakota plays or does something else. So like with Dakota, you could do like a flirt pull or something to get some energy out. With Ellie, she's going to have to be more low key for a couple of weeks. Um, and I think as time goes on and it starts to heal, um, I don't want to tell you that it's okay because I have seen dogs rip their stitches out. However, when Jake got spayed, it was almost next to impossible to keep her um, calm. She is not a calm dog, and I remember her like running, getting in the pool, getting wet, and she did fine. But that's like not the norm. I was just really really lucky. But sometimes you can get away with it, but then again, sometimes you can't. Um, Same dog, Jade, when she had her foot operated on, I had to go back 3 times to have her foot restitched because she ripped her stitches out. So the same dog that was able to run and get wet and play with her spay and did fine, the other stitches she kept getting out, and we kept going back to the vet. So yeah, it's. I think the only way to keep them from not playing rough is to not really let them play. Um, you can give them stuff to do together, like snuffle mats, or give them both a stuffed Kong, or give them both a yak chew or something like that. But then do like flirt pull or something else with Dakota while Ellie's in her crate. That's what I would do. Um, okay, Nicole, Moose is doing better with not having accidents in the house. That's awesome. Had one this morning, but none the rest of the week. I started giving some CBD. Thought I would try that prior to med since he does play with Wilma while I'm gone. I have also been working on the departure cues. Awesome. Um, so today I met with a client and we are doing separation anxiety work with her. Um, she also wanted to try CBD first instead of meds. Um, and I'm going to run to my bag and get, because she gave me a flyer. Um, she knows the owner of this company, and I'm not like promoting them, but I'm going to check it out because there's lots of different CBD oils for dogs. My friend has one that's like 100 and something a bottle. This one was 45. But if you call the company, like they ask a bunch of questions, what it's for, how much your dog weighs. So they tell you like when to take it, how much to take. Um, and I think it sounded really good. And then she got on and ordered it, and immediately they gave her a 20% refund. I don't. She says I didn't ask for it. I don't know why. So it ended up being cheaper. I'm gonna run and get that really quick so I can tell you the name. Hang on. I shouldn't say that I'm gonna run because I don't run, but I can walk fast. Dr. Hemp Dog. This is what it is. I'm gonna I'm gonna check it out. And her dog is probably about 35 pounds and takes a half of a dropper an hour before she leaves. Um, but she was really impressed with these guys and the amount of time they took. Um, yeah, we offer free calls. Um, so they have different products too, but it's drhempdog.com. So she actually got this for me, and I'm gonna check it out as well. So because I have clients that always ask me like, where can I get um, CBD and what kind should I get? And I'm like, I honestly don't know. I have some for Maddie that I got at a conference that I was trying. I mean, I bought it. It was a company I think it's Blackwing, and it seems to help her. I know it wasn't as expensive as 45, but I always like to have multiple options for people. So, but that's great that she's not having any accidents. Oh, what I was going to tell you is that's what we did today was we worked on departure cues. So um, the owner didn't realize like how many things that her dog picks up on before she even leaves. So because her dog has separation anxiety, um, she has to pick up all of the blankets and pillows and put them in a room and close the door. She has to close every door in the house, not let the dog have access to like even the coat closet because she'll tear coats and chew coats. Um, she puts on shoes, puts purse on, keys. So we practiced, and then like going to the door, and then not leaving, and then touching the doorknob, not leaving, opening the door, closing the door. Um, and that's what I have her working on for the next 5 days. It's just departure cues. And then if she does have to leave, I gave her the name of a pet sitter that can come and just sit with her pet and watch TV or play or go for a walk or do something so that her dog is like not by herself like all the time or the whole time she's gone. Um, so yeah, I'm glad to know that the CBD is working because then I can like let other people know that that works. Sorry, getting a headache. I always have headaches, but when I can feel one coming on, if I take Excedrin quick, I can get rid of it. So that's great news. Thanks for sharing that. Once you get done with the departure cues, then I have her like go out, close the door, 1,000, come back in, and then ignore the door. So the other thing that she does, I don't know if you do this, but when she comes back, her dog like is bonkers and she has to get on the ground and let the dog like give her a hug. And I said, well, that's actually amping up your dog's anxiety. So as hard as it is, come in, make it low key, ignore the dog, wait 5 minutes, and then say hi to the dog. Because dogs have awesome noses, and your dog can probably smell you a mile away. Just your scent. Um, that came out really bad, like that you smelled bad. That's not how that was supposed to come out. But your dogs can like smell a mile away. So and they know like what your car sounds like. So even when she's turning at the stop sign to come into her house or to come up her drive and pulls in, like the dog can already hear the garage door open, pull in, open the door. So she's already getting anxious, like, oh my gosh, mom's home. And then when her mom walks in, it's like she goes overboard. So that's why I said like we're gonna do it very slowly, like get in your car, get out of your car, come in. So you break it up into little sections. And even backing out, pulling back in, come in. She did get a camera if you're able, so that she can watch her dog um, while she's gone. So let's say that you're gonna pull out of your driveway and and you see your dog all of a sudden start to like pace or whine or get nervous, then you want to like not go further but come back. So you always want to come back before your dog starts to get anxious. So I don't know what kind of camera she got. I can find out. Um, but then she can watch from her phone what her dog is doing. So that might be an option too. So, but good job on that. That's awesome. Okay, Emily, we just got a foster puppy on Saturday from Afghanistan. He's definitely scared of people, probably especially men. He barks and growls at them. Barks in the crate when I'm not home. Barks when he's in the crate. And brother is in the same room or near. Is that your human brother? or is that a pet brother? Um, Even if he's off leash, puppy will go up, smell his hand, then growl, bark. And yes, you can send me a video of Raven. Um, and since we were just talking about CBD, you might try CBD with Raven if she's still nervous. That might help a lot. The people at the Dr. Hemp Dog, I'm sure if it's for a longer period of time, you could do more during the day, but for this particular case, they're having her give a half a dropper an hour before she leaves. And I can't remember how long they said it lasts, but several hours. Okay, so what I would do is men have to equal high value treats. So that means you don't want them to come right up to the dog. But if you have men that can like toss treats to the dog, so if I remember right, it's a human brother. So have your brother like sit down, turn sideways. So like right now, Maddie is right there. Kind of a tree. So let's say that Maddie is the foster dog. I would sit here and I'm your brother. So I would sit here and I would just toss treats to her sideways, not look at him, just toss treats so that the dog associates men equal treats. And make it something good like cheese, hot dogs, bacon, something like that. So when I first adopted Hallie, Hallie was mostly afraid of men. And so we had to do a lot of stuff like that. And so just have your brother toss treats. If the dog is like across the room, have him not give direct eye contact, but just toss treats. Don't force the foster pup to get any closer than what he is comfortable with, because remember, we always want to give the puppy choice and control over their environment. So you can even have your brother toss treats behind. So especially if the puppy is barking, have your brother or whatever man you're working with, have them toss the treats behind the dog so he learns to retreat, and then he's going to come back only as close as he's comfortable with. And then your brother can toss treats behind again so the dog learns to retreat, come back, retreat, come back. And then eventually the dog should start to get closer and closer because he's getting more comfortable. And then your brother can like still toss treats behind, but not as far. And then eventually hold his hand out and see if the dog chooses to come and take the treat out of his hand. If he doesn't, that's fine. Don't make him. If the puppy is not comfortable coming forward, I worked with a really shy little boxer puppy today that's only 11 weeks old, and this puppy was pretty shy. So I just sat there, talked to the owners, tossed treats. He got a little closer, held out my hand. He came and took a treat and then scurried off, and that was fine. And I tossed treats, and he finally came closer. It took about a half hour before he came up and then was like trying to play and let me pet him and stuff like that. So you want to give the dog as much time as he needs to get used to your brother. And then always let the dog so I'm just rereading this. So yeah, I'm assuming that it's your human brother. So yeah, if he's off leash and the dog will go smell him, and then if he barks and growls, throw a treat behind him. So you can toss treats to get his attention, but it would be better if your brother is the one to toss the treats so that the puppy starts to associate men equal treats. Like the brother equals yummy treat. And your brother is the one that's going to toss the treats behind the dog so that he learns to move away, come back, move away, come back. Once he gets a little more comfortable, then you can step in and teach like a come front or teach something else like, okay, come and sit in front of me and I'll give you a treat rather than barking at him. But that's going to teach him a different behavior, but it's not going to help him get used to your brother. So um, that's what I would do. And if you have a chance to go anywhere out in public, like a Home Depot or somewhere that there's men, um, just do the engage disengage. So you could actually do that in your house as well. Like have your brother clear across the room, and then you have the puppy like, oh, look at that. There's my brother. Click treat. There's my brother. Click treat. And then teach him to like disengage and look at you. Once he can do that in your house with your brother, then I would go. I would start taking it out like on walks. You can do look at that with men that you see on walks. You could do it with men in stores. Um, if you can get close enough, usually people at Home Depot are really happy to help. But if you can say, my dog's really afraid of men, would you mind just tossing a few treats? And I would say, don't try to pet him, don't get too close, just toss him some treats. And they're usually really cool about helping with that kind of stuff. So, yeah, hopefully that answered your question. That should give you some stuff to work on. Okay, Nicole, Moose is usually at the door when I get home, but he doesn't jump at me or anything. That's good. So I usually get my keys, put down stuff, and then go wake up my 14-year-old dog. Then I pet Moose and Wilma. Um, oh, wow, you have 5 cameras. Um, and yeah, perfect. Um, so that's awesome. It sounds like you're doing everything good. And honestly, this other dog is kind of an extreme. I've never heard of a dog that's that crazy when their owner comes home that to where she has to get down and let the dog give her a hug. This dog is very timid. Like I can't pet the dog yet. I can give it treats out of my hand and then kind of scratch under the chin. But if I try to pet any more than that, the dog backs away. So this dog has other issues going on too. So it sounds like Moose is doing great and you're doing everything right. So just keep doing what you're doing. And I love that you have a camera that can do the treat dispensing because that's going to help too. That's awesome. Okay. Hi, Julie. Let me write Julie down. Oh, and I just saw your thing, Emily, human brother. So while I'm writing Julie's name down, I'm spelling her last name. Emily, I would not wait until he stops barking. So when I walk in a house and a dog is barking at me, you're not. If people think, well, then I'm reinforcing the barking, and you're really not. What we're doing is we're teaching the dog how to move away, and basically we're teaching the dog how to retreat. So if the dog is barking at your brother, have your brother toss treats behind him, and just keep doing that, because the dog's gonna retreat, get the treat, and then come back and then throw it behind. Um, Now I have had some dogs that won't go back and take the treat, and if that's the case, then the dog is like way too over threshold. And in that case, I would start doing relaxation, and I would start at a distance to where um, then I would maybe go to the disengage with your brother at a bigger distance, if that makes sense. But if the puppy can like go back and take a treat and then come back and bark, then just have your brother keep tossing treats behind him, and eventually the dogs settle down. I've only ever had one dog that did not settle down for the entire 90 minutes that I was there, was barking at me nonstop. Um, most dogs calm down once they realize that they can move away. Um, they're getting treats. So yeah, I would do that. But no, I wouldn't wait until he stops barking. I would just work on this because what he's going to learn is that the the male equals treats. I can move away, and I only have to come as close as I'm comfortable, and then I get another treat. And then eventually he'll stop barking, and once he stops barking, then you can ask for like a hand target. Like you could teach him to hand target your brother, and that's how he says hi instead of barking or growling. It depends on your brother though. If your brother is like nervous, if he's dog savvy, then great. If he's the type that's going to be like, "Ooh, I don't want this dog to bite me," then I wouldn't do hand targeting because the dog's going to sense that your brother's nervous, and the dog could then like nip. But if your brother can be like, you want to touch and teach the dog to hand target. That's what I did with the dog today that I can't pet. He hand targets, and so he'll do that. And then I'll give him a treat out of my hand, and then like now I'm just like slowly scratching under his skin. Um, okay. Um, let's see, Nicole. Usually, what I see on the camera is that about a couple minutes he looks at the door and walks around the kitchen. He then had been going to the utility room and pottying. Then he would go to the living room and play with Wilma. He hasn't been pottying though this week. That's awesome. That means he's getting better and he's not as nervous where he's going to go into another room and potty. So congrats, you're doing great. That's awesome. Um, I should get a camera for my dog just because I have to create two of them. But if I could, well, I can't really watch them though when I'm with clients because I have to focus on them. But I could probably leave Maddie out if I could watch her and just say, Maddie, don't you chew on that remote. Yes, you. Or, if she's trying to get in the baby gate to get in the kitchen, she knows how to open the cupboard, don't you? And eat treats. She's my prednisone dog, so she's hungry all the time. Poor thing. Um, okay, so Emily, I think a block party would be too much. Um, it depends on how big your block party is. Hey, get out of there. That's not for you. Um, if it's a huge block party with, hey, that's not for you. If there's going to be a ton of people, it might be too overwhelming. And if you have people that are going to be wanting to pet him and stuff, it might be too much. Um, if it's going to be a smaller kind of thing where people will give him some space, it might be okay if you can have people like toss treats. But remember flooding. Flooding is like exposing a dog to too much at once. So flooding would be like me being afraid of mice. And so being like, oh, we're having a mouse party in the laundry room. There's like 20 mice in there. I'm just going to take Tracy and put her in the laundry room and socialize her with mice and let her get used to them. I would have a heart attack. And I definitely wouldn't get over my fear of mice. So does that make sense? So when I envision block parties, that's what I'm thinking is lots of people, loud music, kids running around. I personally think it's going to be too much for him. I would do it slower and really positive because if he has a traumatic event, and if it's too much and too traumatizing, it could actually set him back and make him more fearful. And with the toddler, I would do the same thing. Only I wouldn't have a toddler toss treats, but I would do the engage disengage, like oh look, there's a toddler treat, like there's a toddler treat, and do the same thing that you would do with the men, only you're going to be the one to give the treat. Depending on the age of the toddler, if they're able to take instructions, and if you can say, hey, can you toss these to my dog? If it's somebody that will listen and not try to run up and pet your dog, you could do that with a toddler. But depending on the age again, some kids just run up and go puppy, puppy, and then they're going to get bit. So yeah, I would do the association. Like there's a toddler, here's some chicken, toddler, chicken, do that kind of stuff. Um, oh, I love that, Nicole. I got the camera more just so that when I was having a bad work day, I could see something that makes me happy. That's such a good idea. Um, if I did that, I would probably be like, oh my gosh, my dogs are getting into something and I'm not there and I can't do anything about it. But your camera probably has the feature where you can talk to them. My friend has one of those where, she can say, Bart, stop chewing on the rug. And then he's like, oh, there's mom's voice. She can see what I'm doing. So I might be able to stop them. But usually I'm so engaged with clients and dogs that I wouldn't be able to watch. So unless I have a break, which isn't often. Okay. Hi, Elizabeth. Let me write your name down. My pen's running out of ink. Elizabeth, remind me where you're from. And I can enter you. Hi, Daph. That's my outdoor girl. She never comes. Daphne, what's up? Oh, hi. She loves to be outside. She's usually outside. She doesn't come in she comes in at night. She doesn't have to stay outside. We have a dog door. But, yeah, she just likes to come in and say hi once in a while, and then she goes outside again. Okay. Um, okay, Elizabeth, I will be moving in soon with a family that has 3 kids, age ranging 3 to 6. Good luck. I'm just kidding. They love my dog, but sometimes they can annoy my dog to the point that he starts getting mouthy. My boyfriend's solution to this is he'll grab our dog by the muzzle and shut it. And I love that you put the eye roll right there because you don't want to do that. Um, I actually used to do that for barking, and um, I had a trainer before I was a trainer. I did that, and they said, "Oh yeah, you don't want to do that because it can cause frustration in the dog." Because just think the dog. When you say mouthy, is it because is it in a bad way mouthy, or is it like a mouthy like get away from me, or is it mouthy as in overstimulated wants to play type mouthy? Um, because if your boyfriend grabs the muzzle and shuts it, sometimes dogs can get mad and more frustrated and then bite. Um, and what I would do, let me read the whole thing first. Okay, so I stop him, good job. But my boyfriend seems to think that even if the kids are annoying, he shouldn't do that. Um, yes, and it depends. So if the kids are annoying the dog, and if it's a mouthy kind of thing like, hey, you're annoying me, back off, it's actually appropriate because the dog is communicating to the kids, stop what you're doing, back up, leave me alone. So I would teach, I think kids at the age of 3 can understand, definitely by 5 and 6, because we used to teach this in schools. Um, you can have a rule that, hey, if my dog growls or shows teeth or does any of that, that means that he doesn't like what you're doing, and then you need to stop. That's the dog's way of saying stop. And I even tell people, like, if you don't stop, one of the things that could happen is then the dog's going to bite. Um, the other thing that can happen is if your boyfriend is closing the muzzle and that is a punishment for biting, then the dog is going to stop giving the warning and is going to go right to an actual bite, like a full-on bite. So we don't ever want to punish a warning, which means growl, show teeth, even a nip, that doesn't make contact. Um, okay, so it can be a combination of both leave me alone mouthy and overstimulated mouthy. Yeah, so if you shut his muzzle, that can be a punishment. And if he's saying leave me alone and you punish him, not you, but your boyfriend, basically is punishing him for saying leave me alone, then your dog could go right to a full on bite. It's like, well, okay, I get in trouble, I get my mouth closed for giving a warning, so I'm just going to go right and bite. Um, so two things I would do. I would one teach the kids that if my dog does this, or this, that means he's tired and doesn't want to play, and then that tells you that you can't play with him anymore. I would also have like a safe place where your dog can go. So I have a big crate in my living room, and when I used to teach guitar, um, I most of the kids loved my dogs, but I had a rule that if the dog goes in the crate, that's like telling you that they want to chill out, they want to be left alone. So I had a rule that if the dogs are in the crate, they're off limits. Like you can't pet them, you can't go in, you can't do anything. So I would do that. And then if the mouthy is like overstimulation, I would almost like interrupt, like, and then you can do a positive interrupter, like, oh, hey, enough. And then put your dog in a crate with a toy or something to chew on. So it's not a punishment, so it's positive, but it's going to help him chill out. It's going to get him away from the kids and give him something to chew on, because the chewing or like a licky mat is going to help him decompress. So I think like doing a positive interrupter and then redirecting him to a crate or even another room. It doesn't have to be a crate, but another room with the door closed, and then give him something else to do. But you can even say, "Oh, that's his way of saying that he needs a break, so we're going to put him in another room with something to do, and he can come out later." So that's what I would do. I have um, I have a handout on positive interrupters that my friend put together. So it'll be on her letterhead. But if you want to email me, I can send that to you. And I would just do a positive interrupter because, again, your dog's not really doing anything wrong. If he's barking or starts getting mouthy, I use the word, hey, enough, and then we redirect. And so the dog learns, oh, I hear enough. That means I'm getting a reward. And then you can redirect him to another room, crate, give him something really yummy to chew on, and let him decompress. Um, and yes, if kids were running, screaming, and putting stuff in my face and trying to climb on me, I I would probably bite them too. Not really, but I probably want to. So yeah, I think another big component of this is teaching kids what is and is not appropriate with dogs. We teach this in school all the time. So when kids, and you have to remember, especially kids 3 to 6, they sound different, they look different, they're like little mini humans, but they have high squeaky voices, they flail their arms, they run and scream, and that can sometimes get a dog's like prey drive going, or if the dog thinks it's play, it can overstimulate dogs. Um, so I would teach them, which might be easier for the 6-year-old than the 3-year-old, but teach them like this is what can happen, and like can we do our inside voices, or around the dog, like can we um, like sit and toss treats, or can we like play tug with them? Like it's okay to play tug. Maybe not with the 3-year-old, because remember when dogs play tug, they'll like rebite to get a better grip, and sometimes they get hands, and then the kids think they got bit. Um, Definitely trying to climb on a dog is a good way to get bit. Um, so Another thing I've done in the past is I had a dog that was super nervous around kids, and as he got older, and then we found out he had a back injury, so he was in pain, and he nipped at a kid once. So after that, I said, if you try to pet him and he nips at you, then he doesn't get to come out anymore when you're here. And I did have to do that with one kid. Um, I mean, I wasn't living with him. He would come over once a week. And so, but when he would come, Piglet had to go in the crate, and I would just keep Piglet away from him. Um, Dave, what are you doing? Come here. Oh, good girl. Good stuff. Um, so you could do that. So it's like if for the kids, like if you get the dog riled up and try to climb on him, then he's got to go away, and then you can't play with him. So maybe teach kids a more appropriate um, thing to do. One thing we've done here with the 11-year-old that is living with me, with his dad, who's my cousin, um, he likes to get my dogs riled up, which is fine. They don't really do anything. Sometimes they bite his clothes, but it's his own fault because he's running and getting them riled up. But if we want the dogs to calm down and him to calm down, we say, hey, why don't you pull out your book and read to the dogs? So then they're reading. He's getting homework done, which is reading. He's calming down. Reading makes him tired, and then he wants to go to bed. And the dogs are calm because they're just laying there listening to him read. So you could think of like different activities like that you could do with the kids and the dog that isn't so overstimulating for the dog. So that's hopefully that will give you some ideas. I think your dog is being appropriate, and I would tell your boyfriend like if you keep closing his muzzle, the trainer says that then that's a punishment, and then he could bite, which is true. Um, oh yeah, okay. So Nicole says her camera does have that feature, but you don't use it because your 14-year-old will start searching rooms looking. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, okay. So, Julie, I'm going to come back to your question. Elizabeth, should I separate them for overstimulation, Mouthy? Yes, because once the dog gets overstimulated, you want to like separate, put the dog in another place with a toy or something to chew on, but it only has to be for 1 or 2 minutes. And that's for the dog to calm down because he's overstimulated, and then you can let the dog back out. Then, if it gets too much again, then it's a longer timeout. Like, oh, sorry, the dog's got to go have a nap now, and then cover the crate, and and then I would separate them. Especially just because they're younger. Like the 11-year-old will play rough with my dogs, but he knows they're not biting. Um, 3 and 6-year-olds really don't know the difference, and we don't want them to be, suddenly become afraid of dogs because they think they got bit when the dog is just being mouthy. Um, so yeah, because of that age, I would separate for both. Okay, Julie, how long do you think I should? Um, um, okay, you might have to finish that sentence for me. How long do you think I should the reintroduction? Does that mean how long you should do the reintroduction? Dakota seems to be getting the hang of it. Is this when I stop giving her treats when she looks at Ellie? And now I have to explain to other people the same thing when we ask them to let them out if we are out for the day. Um, let's see. I I don't know that I would stop giving treats yet. So when you say that you're giving her treats when she looks at Ellie, are you talking about like the engage disengage? Like look at Ellie, click treat. Look at Ellie, click treat. Then I would start decreasing distance, so getting them closer and closer, um, and kind of doing that until you can get them close enough to where they sniff each other, things like that. And yeah, you do kind of have to explain to other people what to do. Like if you have people letting them out, then yeah, I would explain to them too. Or I would say, let one dog out, bring the other dog in, and then let the other dog out. Just because I don't always trust other people to know what to do. Um, so I would make it as safe as possible for other people to let your dogs out. Um, so yeah, I don't know that I would stop giving treats yet. I would start decreasing distance first and see if she can still get the hang of it and still do it with now closing in the distance. And then really watch Dakota's body language though and see when she gets closer. Make sure she's not getting stiff or tense or giving calming signals or anything like that. If she is, then back her up and then increase distance. Um, okay. Um, oh, good job. Emma came home. He barked for a bit, threw toys, and now he's not barking. Good. So that's basically redirecting to do something else. That's perfect. Um, yes, reading is awesome. So because this kid is in a special reading program, he's supposed to read like so much a night. And for kids, and I don't know anything about your kids, but or these not your kids, but these kids that you're going to live with. Um, Sometimes it's hard for them to read in front of people because they don't read so well. And I think a 3-year-old's not going to know how to read, but you can give them a book and say, explain to the dog what the pictures are, or make up your own story, or something like that. The 6-year-old can probably read, but it is much easier for kids to read to animals because it's not as intimidating and there's no judgment. And so I have pictures of Rendon in the crate. Like he goes in the crate with my dogs and will read to them. Or again, like when they get too round up, I'll say, hey, why don't you read to Maddie or Jade for 5 minutes? And then it calms them down. So yeah, that's a great idea. We actually do that a lot in schools. So we'll go into schools with therapy dogs and have the kids read to them. Um, and it's awesome. So, and when you do it, make the kids feel like they're doing something super important and helping. So you can say, hey, if you guys want to help do something with the dog, like my dog seems to be getting a little amped up. So let's try to calm the dog down by, can you guys sit and read a story to him? Or her, I forgot if yours is a male or female. I think male. But just say, can you guys read a story? And or if it's the younger one that doesn't read yet, like can you show them pictures and explain what the pictures are? And if kids think that they're helping with training, they are like so excited to do it because they think, oh, I'm helping with the dog and I'm training. Versus if you say like, okay, you guys, and this is probably what I would do, is like, okay, you guys are out of control. You're amping up the dog. Stop doing it. Then the kids are probably going to do it even more, or they're going to, really not listen. But if you make them think, this works with Rendon. So if I say, oh, could you please not amp up the dogs? Then he'll be good for like 2 minutes, and then he goes back to amping up the dogs. But if I say, hey, Maddie hasn't really felt good today. Could you read to her for like 5 or 10 minutes and it would make her feel better? And then he's like, oh, yeah, I'd love to. Then he's in the crate with her reading because he's helping and he thinks he's doing something good for the dog. So I would approach it that way with the kids. Um, so usually when we arrive to their house, he's already super excited. Oh, what can I do before or during? Because this is when he starts running and jumping on them. Oh, so he's running and jumping on the kids. So I would actually tell the kids, to this is what I have to do with Jade. Is I tell people, like, if Jade jumps, you turn your back and ignore her until she sits. And then I have Jade sit and wait before people can pet her. So just teaching that impulse control. Um, and then let's see what else we could do. So when you go through the door, like first when you walk through the door and your dog sees the kids, I would ask for a sit. Just say, sit, wait, and then when your dog is calm, then it's like, okay, now you can go say hi. And at the same time, you're going to tell the kids, if my dog jumps on you, what do? You're going to turn your back. And again, make them feel like they're part of training. You can say, hey, you guys want to help me train the dog? You guys can be dog trainers, and offer to pay them a quarter. They're little. For them, like a quarter will be a lot. Make sure they don't put it in their mouth and swallow it. But just say, if my dog starts to jump, I want you to turn your back and hold really still. And then you can ask your dog to sit and wait, and then give your dog permission to say hi. And actually teach the kids how to calmly say hi to the dog, and teach your dog to sit and wait and calmly say hi to the kids. So, like when I come home, and this is my own fault because I reinforce this. So when I come home, Jade is always super excited to see me, and she's jumping, 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 and I'm usually like, "Oh, hi, Jade, I missed you," and so I'm reinforcing it, and I know that I'm doing it. So today, I kind of ignored her and asked her to sit, and when she sat, then I pet her, and then she started jumping again. I ignored her, asked her to sit, and then I pet her. So teaching both, like teaching the dogs what to do to greet people, and then teaching the kids, this is how I want you to greet the dog. And if the dog's running or jumping, I want you to turn your back. Um, if your dog is like jumping up and nipping, I usually tell kids to like be a big strong oak tree. And so I say, stand really, really still, fold in your branches, and look at the sky. And that way the dog can't really nip at them. If the dog starts like nipping at their clothes, then that's when you step in and say, hey, you don't do that. Here, you can chew on your toy, but you don't chew on the kids. Then when your dog is calm, that is when you can let the kids interact with the dog. So that's what I would do. Hello, Jeff. Let me write you down. Okay, Julie. Oh, okay. How long do you think I should continue the reintroduction? Oh, okay. I get what you're saying now. Sometimes I'm a little slow. Um, so really quick before I answer your question, over the weekend, I kind of told you already at the beginning. I was coming home from Wild Wonders and got hit in an intersection. Not my fault, but did get a little bit of whiplash. And then Saturday, I was at my friend's house. We were playing music, and I tripped over something he had right in the middle of the road and landed on my wrist. Sprained it. I just took the bandage off because it was itchy. But sometimes I forget and put my weight on it, and then I scream. So between having like the whole right side of me hurt and my left wrist hurt, I'm blaming that on my brain fog. And I call it COVID brain too. Okay. Okay, so yeah, I think at this point, um, if Dakota seems to be doing great, and you're taking the gate away, and they smell each other and are fine, then I think you're fine. I would start letting them out together, but supervise. So I kind of like know what Jade's triggers are, so I know kind of when to watch her. Um, and if it's a situation where you think like Dakota could react, um, then just kind of watch that a little bit more so that if something does happen, you can jump in and um, kind of divert it. Um, Also, Julie, have I sent you the positive interrupter? I think I have, but if I haven't, email me and I'll send it to you because I would start getting your dog's conditioned to the word enough, um, so that you can say, like, if something does happen, you can say, "Hey, enough," and then redirect them. But enough means, oh, if we stop, we get redirected, we get a reward. So you're not rewarding. Okay, so I have. So I would work on that a lot so that you have it if you need it. But it sounds like if Dakota's doing good and they smell each other and they're fine, I think you can go ahead and start letting them engage a little bit more and more. I wouldn't let them get too rowdy or too riled up, um, so that they don't go over threshold because you really want to set them up for success so that they don't have um, any like issues. Ellie ate it. Okay, well, if you need me to send you another one, I can. Oh, you probably still have it on your computer. Okay, Jeff. Um, Leash pulling. Yes, I have handouts. If you want to email me, I probably won't be able to get to it till tomorrow, but I will email you what I have. Um, but this is what I do. So I do allow my dogs to like sniff and explore because I feel like it's really good enrichment for them. It's good for them to sniff. It makes their brain work, but as long as they're not pulling. So there's three basic ways that I work on leash pulling. The first one is the red light, green light. So if the leash goes tight, I stop. If the leash is loose, I go. And when I stop, I just stand there and wait. And the dog will look around and eventually will turn to look back at me like, why aren't we going anywhere? And as soon as the dog turns to look back and the leash goes loose, we go again. Usually the dog will immediately pull and then I stop. So I use this one the least because it takes the longest, in my opinion, because you don't really go anywhere. You're always stopping, waiting for a loose leash, and then go. The dog does finally learn that tight leash means we don't go anywhere, loose leash means we stop, or loose leash means we go. The second one that I use more is change direction. So if a dog starts pulling this way, as soon as the leash is tight, I turn and go this way. And then when the dog runs to catch up with me, as soon as he's by my side, I reward by my side. And then if the dog bolts out in front of me again, I turn and go the other way. If the dog goes that way, I go that way. Um, and it's kind of funny because dogs seem to, and I am anthropomorphizing them right now. I never say that word right, but you know what I mean. It's almost like the dogs are thinking, okay, she doesn't know where she's going, and I'm tired of catching up all the time. But they do seem to stop pulling as much because they get tired of changing direction all the time and not going where they want. And so I use that one a lot. The other one that I use is dropping treats in front of the dog. So at first, I will drop treats like every step. So I'll drop a treat, take a step, drop a treat, take a step, drop a treat. You want to do this on flat ground. I did this once on a hill, and the treat rolled down the hill, and the dog went pulling me down the hill after it. So do it on a flat surface. Um, but it gets the dog slowing down, their nose to the ground, and then they're not pulling, and they're still getting to use their nose to smell the treat, follow the treat. Then I start to go every 2 steps, and then maybe every 4 steps, and then so I'll drop a treat, take 3 steps, drop a treat, 3 steps, drop a treat. So then I start to spread out, but the dogs kind of learn like, oh, there's probably a treat coming, and then I'll drop. But then I start to spread out how much I drop the treats, if that makes sense. Um, Also, if we're walking and the dog like looks up and checks in with that, because then the dog's not pulling, the dog's kind of like staying close and checking in. So I always reward that because that's behavior that I want. Um, so I tend to do the treat dropping more with the really big, strong dogs because even if they pull and I change direction, it's yanking my shoulder. So it depends on how young and strong you are. I'm getting old and not strong. So if it's a stronger dog, I will use the leash or the treat drop rather than the change direction. Um, there is equipment that you can use to help with leash pulling, like a freedom harness. Um, I don't think any of my dogs have one on right now. That's the front clip harness. So then if the dog pulls, it turns them back towards you. So they literally can't pull. They can try, but it's going to turn them sideways. So I use freedom harness a lot for really strong dogs. Um, oh yes, you have the Jack Russells. I forgot. Um, I gotta make. I started to write down dog names and breeds so I remember. That's right. You do have the Jack Russells. So yeah. So with them being small, you could use either. You could use the change direction, or you could still drop treats. Um, Depending on how big your dogs are, they may not have a freedom harness small enough. I don't think they have an extra small because I've had clients look. Jade, if you've seen Jade, she's about 35 pounds and she's a small, and she's a pit mix. So I'm trying to think if they have an extra small. Really tiny dogs, the freedom harnesses just don't fit them. I wish they would make smaller ones, but um, yeah, I would do I would change direction, and since you have two dogs, I would work one at a time because what happens is with two dogs, they all both want to be out in front. Um, so then they are going to want to pull to be out in front. And yes, Julie is right. The easy walk. So the gentle leader is the one that goes around the nose, and it's it's more aversive. I do use that with bigger, stronger dogs that are reactive that we need to get more control over. Um, the Easy Walk is another front clip harness that's kind of like the Freedom harness, only it doesn't have the extra clip on the back, but it does come in smaller sizes. So you could get a gentle leader or an Easy Walk for both dogs. It's still a front clip. If those don't work, you could go to something like a gentle leader. Um, the only problem with those is it doesn't really allow the dog so much to be able to sniff and explore and get that foraging out because you have total control of their head. And so I honestly wouldn't really use one on a Jack Russell because it's not like they're going to pull your shoulder out. Um, but, but you could, yes. So do one at a time. And Nicole says that they do have an extra small freedom heart. So I would get on Amazon and they have a size chart and see if the extra small is going to fit. Um, they Pupford sells them too, but they only sell black. Because I tried to buy a pink one for Jade because everybody thinks she's a boy, even though I don't like pink. I don't like people calling her he all the time. And they sell black ones, but you can get them on Amazon and you can get them right from Two Hounds Design. Um, and so I think an extra small or a small, depending on how big your dogs are, would fit. But they do have a size chart. Um, so yeah, I would do one at a time and then start to put them together. Another thing that you could do is I've never done this, but I think it would work. Is if you have both of your dogs on an easy walk or a freedom harness, and you get one of those, you know, the attachment to your leash that lets you walk two dogs at once, then they're the same length and they can't get ahead of each other. So they're not, hopefully, I'm thinking that they wouldn't pull because they're going to be the same distance all the time. So you might try that. They may still pull trying to get ahead of the other one, but they're not going to be able to do it. So yeah, try that. Let's see, and I think I missed somebody. Okay, David. How to get puppies to stop chewing pee pads in their playpen. That is why I don't like to use pee pads. So the only thing that you can really do is if you don't catch the puppy doing it, there's really nothing that you can do. If you catch the puppy chewing on the pee pads, you can say, hey, don't chew on that. But chew on this, and then redirect them to a toy. And let them, so we have to teach them, like, you can't chew on that, but you can chew on this. I hear more and more about puppies chewing on pee pads. So I don't, when I do board and train, I don't use them. However, if you do have to use something like that, I just did board and train with a dog, and his owner brought over it had like a plastic bottom. And so if the dog has an accident, you just throw it in the wash. And the dog can't chew on it. Well, I mean, he can try, but he's not going to like chew it up. This puppy that I had was very mouthy, but he did not chew on that pad because it's not like he could tear it and get reinforced and have fun like tearing it apart. He did have an accident on it a few times, mainly because the dog crate that the guy brought over was way too big for a little French bulldog. And so the dog was able to sleep on one end and pee on the other end. But I just threw it in the wash, and the dog never chewed it up. Other things I've used in the past were pea patches. So it looks like grass, but it's fake grass, and there's a tray underneath, and there's some spray that you spray on it so that it attracts the dog to go potty there. I don't know how it works, but it does. It's amazing. The first time I saw one used, an owner said, could you teach, have my dog use this? Because they lived in like a assisted living, like a older folks home, and they lived up on the fourth floor, and they weren't going to be able to get their dog down fast. And it was a small dog anyway, so we taught it to go to the bathroom on the pee patch, and the dog just did it. Like, I didn't even have to teach the dog anything. The dog just naturally did it. And then it's easier to transition them over to grass because it looks and feels like grass. And so they go on that, and then you just take the pan. If they poop, you just pick it up like you would normal poop. But if they go pee, it goes down into a tray, and then you just empty the tray out and wash the tray out. So I like those better than pee pads. But again, if you do want to use those, you kind of have to catch the puppy chewing on them to interrupt and redirect. So I'm afraid that if you try to, put bitter apple or something like some kind of deterrent on it, then I'm afraid that the dog might not go on it. So that would be my suggestion. Okay. Oh, Nicole says, toy Aussie, 16 pounds and a small. Oh, I bought the extra small first. Seriously, your 16-pound dog fit into a small? They do adjust, but Jade, come here. So Jade is like 35 pounds. Oh, come here. And she's a small, but she's almost to a medium. She's gained a little weight, so she's almost a medium. And if she gains any more weight, her small is as big as it can go, and then she's going to have to have a medium. Oh, thank you for the kisses. Yeah, that's a good girl. Yeah, split leash. That's exactly what it is. Okay, so Julie's saying that Dakota used to chew on her pee pads when she was in her crate. Eventually, I stopped putting the pads in the crate. Yeah. Well, you really, I would only use pee pads in like an X pen or like an exercise pen, um, where it's a bigger space. If you're using a crate, you technically shouldn't need them because you want to use the crate to help potty train. Because the crate should not be big enough for the dog to sleep on one side and go to the bathroom on the other. And it teaches them how to hold it because dogs don't want to go, um, they don't want to go potty where they sleep. So I've only usually seen pee pads used in like X pens where you keep them for the day so they can't like chew on furniture and stuff. But if you do that, um, make sure that you just lost my train of thought. Oh, make sure that your dog has plenty of toys um, to chew on other than the pee pads. Okay. And you do have the split leash, so that's good. And then Julie said after that, I just left blankets and toys with her to keep her occupied. Yep. Um, oh, thank you. I'm glad you like the videos. Which ones have you watched? I've done several for them, so I'm not sure which ones you've seen. Probably the very first one that I did was on potty training, and I am not one that likes to be in front of camera, so I think I was terrified. Now it gets easier and easier. So, but thank you. I'm glad that you enjoy them. I actually love doing them for these guys. It's fun. Um, yeah, so small would be 18 to 35 pounds. Yeah, and they are adjustable. Well, Jake's about 35 pounds, so that explains why hers is almost too tight. Um, okay, so Nicole said that her dog has a lot of fur, and it was hard to get the extra small over all the fur. So then the extra small would have fit. Okay, I think I've answered everything. We'll do a drawing, and I'm just going to go through and make sure I've answered everything. Um, and Julie, keep me posted and let me know how Dakota and Ellie are doing. I'm just making sure that I have answered everything. So, Jeff, since I used to walk 3 dogs, Maddie's getting older now, so she can't quite walk as fast as the other two. I used to use a split leash for 2 dogs and then a separate leash for my third dog. And on the way out, it was always a lot harder because they were all excited and they wanted to be in front, and it was, walking 3 pit bulls was a nightmare. Then coming back after they were tired, I had a perfect heel, like 3 dogs right by my side. And that's when I was hoping that everybody would say, oh, wow, she's such a good trainer. Look how well her dogs walk. But going, they're probably like, holy crap, like her dogs don't walk on leash at all. But when you first go out, yeah, they're excited. They want to sniff. Um, okay. Okay, let me answer a few more questions and then I'll do the drawing. So David, how about puppy barking? Sometimes when I get my puppy to sit and wait before coming inside the house, she feels the need to bark for a few minutes before she's quiet and comes in. So for that, what I would do is when you do like sit and wait, I usually will use like a hand cue. So this for me is wait. So I think like wait a second. This is stay, wait a second. So I'll do sit, wait, and then the dog's focused on my finger, and then I say like yes, come on in. If your dog starts to bark, um, then I would teach a quiet. So I usually will let the dog bark. I'll say quiet once, and then I'll wait for the dog. The dog will usually like bark, 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 take a breath. And when they take that breath, then I mark it with either yes or a click and say good quiet, and then let them in, so that they get rewarded on the quiet. Um, and you could also use the positive interrupter that we talked about earlier. If you missed that, if you email me, I'll send you the handout. It's on my friend's letterhead because she put it together. But you could use a positive interrupter like, hey, enough. And then enough means, oh, a treat's coming, but then she's quiet. And then you can redirect her you could even say, like, hey, enough, wait. Yes, good job. And then come in and get a treat. So you could try that. I usually let my dogs bark once because they're usually alerting me that something's going on. But then I'll say, okay, got it, guys, quiet. And then I reward them for being quiet. Or if they're barking at somebody walking by, I call them in. And then I reward them for coming in and coming when I call them. But they're not getting rewarded for the barking. They're getting rewarded because they stopped barking and came. Um, so you could do like a quiet or enough, wait, good job, and then come in. So I would do that. Um, okay, Emily says, went south. Brother came back upstairs, tried doing it again, but having him toss the toys. Puppy came running at him. Oh, your brother got scared and started screaming. Okay, so yeah, maybe I would have. Is your brother younger? I can't remember how old your brother is, but it sounds like he might be younger. So I would maybe work from a distance and have you be the one to do engage disengage with your brother rather than have your brother um, try to help. You can have your brother toss treats from a distance just to make that association. And I would use treats instead of toys so that the dog is like, ooh, brother comes up, I get hot dogs or chicken or whatever you're using. I would do that instead of toys. Because if the dog's barking and over threshold, he's probably not in the right mindset to play with toys, but he might still take treats. Oh, and Jeff says, I've not split them yet, just in the house or backyard. Yeah, and that's totally fine. I would practice with them, and then when they're doing good in the backyard, then take them out in the front and start. And as soon, like I said, as soon as the leash is tight, you could stop. So let me back up a little bit, not to confuse you, but now as I'm looking at this in my head, we kind of want the dogs to sniff and explore. And on a split leash, I'm not sure they could do it because they're not going to do the exact same thing that the other one's doing. You might just have to play around. Maybe they will. So when I had a split leash, they could still sniff, and we kept up a pace, and they were still sniffing the ground and stuff, and it worked okay. But if you find that they're like wanting to do two different things, or one's getting drug, or they're, sniffing, one wants to sniff and one doesn't, then it might be better to do two separate leashes. The only reason I said split leash is because then they are the same distance and they can't pull ahead. Another thing that I have done though is I've had two leashes and I tied the handle part together so I only had to hold one leash, but there was two separate leashes. So it's like a split leash, but it gives them more room. So then they're not as restricted, and you're only holding one leash, but the dogs can still kind of sniff, explore, as long as they're not pulling. I will send you, email me. I'll send you my loose leash walking handout. But you may have to play around a little bit with equipment like the Freedom Harness or the Easy Walk. I would play around and see if the split leash works, or if the like tying the handles together. I did that with the long line. So when I got new dogs, we would go hiking. I wanted them to be able to sniff and explore, but I didn't trust them yet to not. I didn't trust their recall yet. So I had like a 15-foot leash, but I didn't like holding 3 leashes. So I just tied them all in a knot and just had one handle. But they still had plenty of room to go where they wanted. So you could try that too. Yeah, I sometimes was tangled up. I will be honest. Okay. Um, okay, let me put all of these in a bowl. And draw. Tonight, our winner is Anita Solomon from Florida. So congratulations, Anita. Um, so you are going to hello@pupper.com. You're going to email them, so am I, and let them know that you won, and they will send you a bag of training treats. Uh, okay, so thank you everybody for joining. I think I got to everybody's questions tonight. And have a great week. If you want any of the handouts, feel free to email me, Tracy with an I @pupper.com. It might take me a day or two to get them out, but I will get them to you. If you have any questions, feel free to email me as well. And everybody have a great week, and I will see you next week. Oh, let me answer. We just got one more. Rowena, what do I do with a 7-month-old puppy who bites? Okay, so I use what's called a 3-strike bite rule. So the first time the puppy bites, I redirect to a toy. So it's like, oh, you can't bite me, but here is a rope toy, here is a ball, here is a Kong. Redirect to a toy. If the dog goes back to biting you, then calmly pick up the dog if the dog's not too big. If the dog's too big, you're still going to put the dog in a crate with a toy because you want it to be positive, not punishment. Put the dog in a crate, 1 minute timeout. So that gives the dog a chance to kind of decompress, calm down, let the dog out. If the dog goes back and bites a 3rd time, then you're going to calmly pick up the puppy or pick up the dog, put it in a crate with a toy. Doing it with the toy is really important so that it's not a punishment. Cover the crate and the dog gets a nap. So it probably means the dog's overstimulated, and that gives you as the human a break, and it gives the dog a timeout. The other thing that I've started to do with dogs that are relentless biters is I started to do flirt pull, because I'm standing, my hand is on the edge of the flirt pole, and the dog is focused on the toy on the end. And you can play and really wear them out that way, but the dog is nowhere near. I started doing flirt pole training, or flirt pole game for that. It also teaches impulse control. It teaches a drop it. It teaches them they have to be calm before we play, and then it's okay to get wound up and chase. You can play tug. Then you teach it drop it, and then they have to calm down again before I play again. So it teaches a lot of different things, but it keeps your hands kind of away from the puppy. So yeah, that's what I would do. Okay, so we will see you guys next week. Have a great week. I will give you a heads up that there's a new really cool thing coming out from Pupford. We were going to do live Instagram this week, but it wasn't quite ready. So I think we're doing it on June 3rd. Especially for you guys that have puppies, it's going to be awesome. So just to give you something to look forward to, um, stay tuned and be ready for that. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait. It's something that I will use a lot, and I'm so excited. So it's in the future in like a week or two. So be ready for that, and I will see you guys next week.